Sup everyone, this is Karak from ACG, and today I'm bathed in the moonlight glow of fantasy worlds far and wide and sweaty with the, well, sweat of battle, as I bring to you the review of the VR title Vanishing Realms by Indemo Labs, a fantasy sword-swinging, gold goblet-grabbing, stabby title. Swiggity-swooty, I'm coming for your booty. Remember that time you had the dream about living in a D&D world, getting the girl, fighting off a horde of hungry skeletons yearning to fill their missing bellies with your body? Me either, but if I did, it would probably look like something like this, where they're bringing you into D&D and not the other way around. Let's see if they rolled a natural 20, rocking the boxes off gamers everywhere, or if someone here critically fumbled, bringing a mimic back to the treasure chamber, a useless and just downright mean mirror of a great game. Now, as always, if you like the video, maybe subscribe. So here's the review for Vanishing Realms. Questionable store placement, legendary torches of burning +2, and finding out what dungeon monsters do in their downtime, which is sitting around waiting for someone to show up. Graphics are up first. So this is a VR title, and one that continues a somewhat conscious decision we've seen with some titles to illuminate worlds in more of a cartoony caricature to hide many of the disadvantages and details that this technology brings to the fore. Vanishing Realms, though, turns it up a notch with a bit higher detailed texture in places and a stunning number of small aspects that makes the world bear out as breathtakingly real. Okay, shit, I'm lying. Not real, but certainly interesting. The wavering reflected light of your torch illuminates areas that are filled with expected booty. Enemy arrows stick from your wooden shield in growing numbers, and yet moments of respite allow you to explore small islands removed from the conflict that you come from and are inherently going to return to. And through all these areas, and though some of them are suitably cartoon gothic in their setup, moments of surprise continue to show up, like the moonlight flitting in through a window or the demonic red eyes of an angry skeleton. There's always really cool little artful impacts here. But what really matters here is the stabby end of shiny swords against skeleton spine, and though that might sound like last night for some of you, brothers and sisters, to me, that means combat. Animation is excellent, and it should be, as the one-for-one movement fighting that occurs here needs to be tight and dialed in. Enemies wield swords and shield and flinging death from afar crossbows, and here we see an also excellent reliance on simplicity begetting imagination. You see, you're animated one-for-one, as I said. If you want to salute the enemy, go for it. If you want to bang your sword and shield together in challenge, you can do that too. The gameplay and the well-done collision detection allows for a little bit of acting here, and that is suitably fun. Admittedly, there's something almost magical here when you slam your sword into an enemy's in a parry or let their heavy-handed attack rebound off your shield. Taken as a package graphically, this is right up there when it comes to design, and though again it aims for a slightly more Zelda than Oblivion or even Skyrim look, it does so excellently without the need of a mod manager to fix a company's shit animation system. Sound, music, and voice. Sound is up first. Now, in many ways, this is also of the cheery, nothing bad happens in my world because I refuse to let it variety. The sounds are suitably saccharine without getting unnervingly close to sounding like a caricature. Weapon effects are wickedly well done, though, with their effects like occlusion and room echo ranging from basic to really, really good. The heavy wood and steel whack of a sword against shield or the impacting thud of a freakishly inaccurate but absolutely loving his job skeleton crossbowman are really well done. It's just good sound all around, and its layering and directional input is fantastic, allowing you to know exactly where you are and who's doing what in a room at any one time, which almost always ends up with them trying to stab you. This is why it's so vital for combat, because I can't tell you how many times I twisted around and blocked an arrow from that damned first crossbowman just by reacting to the sound of his shot. It's one of the only times I can remember sound helping me that much feel like a badass, which is pretty much what the game seems to want from the get-go. Music. Now, this is unfortunately lean, and when I say lean, I actually mean damn near unnoticeable for the most part, a mix of incredibly basic tonal pieces that underlie the environmental audio. It's really easy to miss that music's even playing at times. But let's be honest, Conan didn't stop to make sure the woodwinds were on key, and neither should we. Let's just do what he did and slay every mother sucker who dares stand in front of us and then punch a camel. FYI, no camels in this game, thus no camel punches, which is both sad and probably for the best. I'd say as a complete sonic package, it's okay music, but the mix of mostly synth and only one or two real tracks was completely noticeable. voice. Now, though there was very little the first time I had what was apparently the castle warning me to get the hell out by saying a little rhyme, my sphincter may have tightened just a bit. Heavy with vocal effects, but still innately threatening. The voices are very lean and rarely heard, but the couple times that they are, they do an excellent job of basically saying, get the fuck out, in different ways. Gameplay. Okay, so you play as someone who basically steps into an area, moves an apple, and for some reason is now in a castle. Don't ask questions. Vanishing Realms' tag is explore, discover, collect, solve, play, but I think it should be what I did, which is laugh like a crazy man, try to light everyone on fire, stab, stab again, and collect fat loot. Occasionally, there's some running in there. Vanishing Realms is much more about giving VR a reason to show that presence in a title is the kill shot that may change the industry for the better than it is at telling any kind of interesting story. It really is that simple. You enter a giant ancient castle, begin to gather items, and explore, cutting, running, stabbing, slashing, bashing, and beating everyone you meet into oblivion. Same old, right? Nah, you see, Vanishing Realms should have had the tagline, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Presence is vital in a VR title. I've talked about that before. It's the accumulation of atmosphere and a player's centering within the game world and how the game's mechanics make them feel a part of the world by both exploring VR's capability to immerse, but also mitigate as many negatives as possible that the medium brings. Using the Vive's controllers, you begin the questing, learning little basics like how to carry a torch, find a key, and explore. And every one of those little basics is a tiny treasure all by itself because they all interact together like a larger puzzle. Now soon you're walking around learning movement, easy stuff to really get you acclimated to the controls, which is a mixture of small location movement and teleportation. But the mastering magic is, as I said, within the details. First, the game has a ton of little tiny things like the aforementioned bashing of swords in challenge, the ability to catch fiery arrows with your shield or even hit them out of the air with a sword. All, of course, backed up by perfect one-for-one control. Now fighting, which you do a lot of, is also excellently done, with both sword and shield taking their respective physical places within the game space, neither feeling in the way or, even when crisscrossing one another, colliding. It's this one-for-one movement of the Vive controllers and the excellent head and body movement tracking that lets you lean lightly and watch an arrow whiz past your damn face inches away. It's after the third or fourth time this happens when you realize the game is channeling the one damn thing that we as gamers have always wanted to feel in a title but rarely felt so personally. Being a badass. You see, it's not just a button press that has you diving away from an enemy. Here it's movement, your movement. Here it's your swing. Here it's your block. Here it's your backstep and leap forward. Even for a title so new and from a developer so unknown, the fact is that Vanishing Realm nails presence better than almost any VR title I have played prior. And that's just proven more so by the number of times I leaned around a corner to count the number of enemies waiting, blocked an arrow intended for my head, and then shouted something dirty before I leapt into battle. There is an incredible amount of awesome cheesiness going on in this title. If there is a weakness, though, within Vanishing Realms, it's that the few puzzles that were there were fun and pretty easy, but not enough. I smiled at the axes in the hallway and was really sad to see less puzzles than I expected after that. But that's more of a boon to the dev, understanding that 3D space and teleportation movement might not be the most fun for some adventurers when it comes to puzzle pummeling. But for me, I really did miss it. I'd also like to have seen more enemy variety and certainly more aggression. This isn't Dark Souls VR, though that's both cool and terrifying at the same time, but I would have loved for enemies to do a bit more hunting me down rather than let me get that first swing most of the time, because in the end, sometimes I just felt like a really badass bully. Except for that crossbow skeleton, because straight up, fuck him. That dude not only had an unlimited supply of arrows, just making them out of skeleton wishes in the hopes of past explorers, but randomly, he'd load his crossbow with 3 of them, and then, let me tell you, 1 shield against 3 arrows? Even Zelda and Conan couldn't have done that. Fun factor. This is the most fun I've ever had in a VR title so far. It's simply breathtaking, exploring, feeling locations, and that all-important aspect of presence as I discussed before. Atmosphere is one thing, and of course, it nails that, but that's more due to the location, how it makes you feel, and the visuals. Presence is, again, that intangible glue that attaches you to the environment, and Vanishing Realms is sticky as hell. I will be returning to this for the supposed next chapters. Now, as you guys know, I rate games on buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it again rating scale. And of course, if this is a PC, it's also a wait for a deep sale instead of rent. This is unfortunately a wait for a sale. Now, why? Well, because like many VR games, it's overpriced to a stunning degree. And I'm here to tell you what things are worth when it comes to my opinion. And this is $20 for maybe at most 2 hours. 2 hours of fun, sure, but $20 Also, and maybe more importantly, there are some questions as to the continuation of the game's creation. The developers posted a couple answers to future development, then deleted them, and it's all a little bit confusing other than if someone makes enough cash, they'll stop swimming around in Scrooge McDuck-style money and make the extra chapters. Now, no one seems to understand even how or what that might mean. He has stated that he's working on it, but there isn't really any idea of when it may come out, if ever. I'm not gonna lie, this was almost a buy, but plain and simple fact is VR pricing needs to get under control now. It is completely ridiculous, and I don't think if this was a normal game, it would have been this expensive. And to be honest, I'm not quite sure changing it to VR suddenly increased cost enough that a game that only lasts 2 hours would be a full 20 bucks. So anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys liked the review. If you did, hit thumbs up. If you didn't, hit thumbs down. You can check out Reddit, Patreon, whatever. As always, peace out.